Hi, everyone. Before we get into today's episode, I just want to warn you that there's a lot of swearing throughout this interview. So if you have kids around, you'll want to listen at a later time. Now on with the show. Hello, I'm Christopher Lopez, and this is the StarCraft Observer. The show centered around the real-time strategy game StarCraft and its real stories from the community. We talk to artists, streamers, players, creators about their first encounter with the game and how it's changed their lives. Hello, listeners, and welcome back to the second installment of Rain's story. In the last episode, we covered much of Rain's early life. That was where he grew up, when he knew he was good at playing StarCraft, the trouble he got into when sneaking off to PC bongs, and when he was inspired to become a pro gamer. We left off with Rain finally getting to the TSL house after being contacted by Fruit Dealer, the first GSL champion, to join the team. Rain immediately accepts the offer to become one of TSL's pro StarCraft 2 players. With that, he packed his bags and makes his way over to the team house. That's if he's able to get into the house in the first place.
When I first arrived, they gave me the location.
Mm-hmm.
I went there and I tried to call the TSL head coach, and he didn't pick up the phone call. I called him probably like 30 times or something. I arrived there at like 10 p.m. I had to wait until like 12.
Dude, like were you feeling like this was a fake fruit dealer?
No, I was thinking like, is this part of the test to, are they like testing me, my patient? Is that like part of the test to get into the team or something? One of the players in TSL came down and looked for me, and they found me and took me to the team house. I finally got in there, see the fruit dealers, Trickster. He was also one of the best Protoss player at the time. Like all the best players I saw, I was like, wow, my dream finally became true. Yeah, it was one of the best moments in my life, probably.
Rain would later find out that the reason he stood outside for so long was because the TSL head coach at the time had a medical condition in which they would sleep for hours on end, and it was difficult for them to wake up. Once inside his new team house, though, Rain would eventually find a PC ready to go and set up for him to get training right away. Along with that, he was getting to know his teammates, and then the following day was his media day, in which he felt as if he became a celebrity overnight. Rain describes this media day as this big spectacle. There were news reporters, sponsors, and people asking the team members and coaches a ton of questions. Rain mentioned that it was mainly Fruit Dealer getting asked all the questions since he just won the GSL prior to him joining the team, and that he was only asked one question, which he didn't mind. He was just happy to finally be part of one of the biggest teams at the time. In the previous episode, Rain mentioned that during his amateur days, he had to pay a hefty fee of $400 a month. Now that he was part of one of the greatest teams, that was no longer the case. There are no contracts involved, and everyone's free to leave whenever they wanted to. Finally settled in at the new TSL team house, Rain would come to qualify for GSL Season 3, and let's just say things got off to a rocky start.
So I was in TSL, and Alive was still in 4U. And I was playing at the qualifier. Well, how can I say qualifier, right? Qualifier? Is that what you say? And I was playing against this random Protoss player. I didn't know much about him. And like we had like a big battle in the game, like huge battle. And I thought I won the battle. And Olive was watching the game next to me. So I was trying to be funny. So I raised my hands up like, I took my hands up from the keyboard and mouse, and I was like celebrating, like, ooh.
What made you think you're about to win that match?
You have that feeling, like I had landed good EMPs, and I thought I would just crush him, so I took my hands off, like, I won. And then few seconds later, like all my units got killed. Like, and I felt something weird from behind. So I looked back. Like the head coach was watching my game. He was like, "Are you serious?" Like, he was very angry at me because I was just fucking around, and I lost the game. I thought I would get kicked out. So I really had to win the game. And the last two games were pretty close too.
Oh my god, dude.
That's the same tournament I made into the final. So if I lost to that random Protoss guy, I'll probably get kicked out and my career probably would have been over.
A rocky start for sure, but as you heard, Rain, he managed to qualify, but not before almost giving the TSL head coach a heart attack. He did apologize immediately after the incident, though. So, finally qualifying for the GSL, Rain would have a bit of a cheesy road ahead of him. How was that road getting to the final?
The round of 64 was pretty easy. I was matched with the weaker player, right? And I played Genius in round of 32. I was huge underdog. I remember, like, I was a huge underdog, and I actually cheesed him twice. Like, I was notorious for cheesing. I was very good at it. I was criticized for that, but I was actually really good at it. So I cheesed him, and obviously most people were thinking that I would lose, but I dropped him like 2-0. Yeah, I teased him twice. Well, people didn't say much when I knocked Genius out. They didn't say much about it. And then on the round of 16, I played against Squirtle. You know who Squirtle is?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm reading Wikipedia and it says you do the same tactics again. Well, not the same tactics, but you cheese Squirtle.
Well, I beat him like 2-1.
Mm-hmm.
I teased him on the last game. I did. But the second game wasn't like no, was a macro game. So I teased him. No, people didn't say anything. Okay, until then they didn't say much about it. Okay, and when I beat NesTea, that's the I beat the defending champion, right? And I teased him twice.
That's right. You heard correctly. He not only beat NesTea, the Season 2 champ of GSL and the world's greatest Zerg at the time, but he defeated him by cheesing him. And what's cheese? Well, according to Wikipedia, cheese is this sort of expression which refers to a strategy that is highly unconventional and designed to take one's opponent by surprise. In general, cheese is hard to beat if not scouted, but easy to defeat if it is scouted. So it's kind of like one of those things where you're trying to get an easy win, but also outthinking your opponent in a different way. It's a lot of complexities and people have different opinions on it, but it's still a strategy. People in the StarCraft community get very upset over cheese, and sometimes they don't consider people playing like this having any skill. But when the odds are stacked against you and you're up against the world's greatest Zerg at the time, you just gotta do what you gotta do.
Actually, the game was very close. It was best of 5. I think I lost the first one and I won the second one, and he won the third one. I won the fourth and fifth. I cheesed him on the second and the fourth game because NesTea was the best player at the time. Like he won the tournament like before this, right? He was the best player. And obviously there was no why would I try to play macro game against him? Doesn't make any sense, right? So I teased him. I knew because there was the only chance I can beat him, right? And people went so crazy about that.
I'm going to be honest with you, man. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I was up at 4 a.m. watching those games. And for somebody to take out my boy NesTea at the time, me and my friend were like, dude, what the hell, man? Like, I was a Terran player, so I'm going to side with the Terran player. And he was the Terran player too, but he's been playing StarCraft longer than me since StarCraft 1. And he's like, no, forget that guy. All he does is cheese and, he's not really good. I was like, dude, it's still, call it what you may. It's still, strategy, man. He's like, no, that's not strategy. I was trying to talk him out of it. And then I was just like, man, he knocked out NesTea with cheese, dude.
Yo, but still, it's not easy. Still,
it's hard.
Yeah, and one thing people don't realize is that I was really good at it. It's not any Terran players can do against NesTea. Even Marine King tried to tease him on the final, and he failed, right? And Boxer tried to, I think Boxer cheesed him like twice on the quarterfinal. He failed. Like, it's not something that everyone can do. I could do it because I was very, very good at it. I was very good at cheesing people. Like, I knew the exact timing. I knew, like, I was very good at micros, and yeah, but people didn't give the credit for that. Like, all my interview is like covered with, like, all the bad words.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, wow, I was fucking shocked.
Feeling proud of what he had just accomplished and in a state of disbelief, Rain's world would change as soon as he would step out of that booth. When you came out of that match, how were you feeling?
Well, I felt, yeah, I didn't expect me to beat him, actually. I couldn't, like, believe it, you know?
You get out of this booth after beating NesTea, the defending champion. How are you feeling?
Well, I felt shit because people were like, the spectator was saying, like, oh, it's boring, like, oh, it's not fun. Like, the spectators, the fans at the stadium, like, some of them actually talk shit at me, you know. I felt okay. I felt something. People didn't like the match, and I could feel that. And even at the interview with the Korean reporters, they were saying that, oh, fans are so mad. Like, you should, like, defend yourself. Like, even before asking me questions,
Mm.
they told me that, like, fans are super mad. Like, you better come up with, like, you know like, some excuses or whatever.
Wait,
Like,
they're telling you this before the interview?
yeah,
Like
I was like,
excuses as into like what do you mean like excuses? Like coming up.
like, it's they were just telling me that I have to, like, defend myself, like, as I committed, like, a crime or something. Like, I read, like, all these crazy, like, comments on my interviews and, like, my games, and yeah, it was very difficult. I was hurt. It's very hard to understand until you actually experience it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, everyone just in the StarCraft community just hates me because I dropped the defending champion, and they were, like, spamming, like, all the bad words on my interview, on my, like, every time I play, they would just the ratings on my games were, like, super low because they would just give, like, 0 stars on every games I play. 'Cause they just hate me so much.
Oh, that's right. Because GOM TV back then was hosting their videos on their site, and you can vote.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They had, like, rating shit.
Things were rough. I even remember threads being created around this of how the only reason he made it was due to him cheesing and didn't deserve to move on to the finals. People were debating over how cheesing was not a real strategy. And as he mentioned, people began to downrank majority of his games on GOM TV, which at the time was the only place you can view the VODs, and they were downranking him to 1-star ratings, along with leaving nasty comments. Things got so bad for Rain to the point that he was afraid to even walk around the streets of South Korea, and fearing that he would be confronted and assaulted by someone after the events that transpired at GSL and defeating NesTea. And it didn't stop there. While the pressure kept mounting, and Rain feeling as if he committed the most heinous crime in the history of esports, he was forced into a position of releasing a public statement, apologizing for what had transpired in his match versus NesTea. Yeah, and it says right here that you publicly apologized for your style. Was that because the reporters told you to do that, or?
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, actually, I remember writing that stuff uh, before I left the stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there was a computer there, and I don't know. I think my coach convinced me to write that. I don't remember why I wrote that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, because I mean, what you did was a strategy. Like, that's the part that I don't understand.
Yeah.
And, you pulled it off against the defending champion. Yeah, people are upset. But And, I was a little upset when I was watching it, but, I understood that, hey, it's a tactic,
Yeah.
it's a strategy.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of the game. But
Yeah.
coming out, people are telling you that, hey, you should apologize. How are you feeling about that?
Ah, man. Right now, if I were like older, I would probably didn't give a shit about it. But I was so young and I never had such experience before. So I think I felt I did something wrong, which I didn't, but I think I felt I disappointed fans or I don't know. I felt like I did something wrong. Yeah.
Surprisingly, Rain managed to find a silver lining during all this. With all this backlash, he knew what he needed to do next. You're going through all this like cheese drama and stuff, and what comes after?
Well, I had to prove everyone wrong, right? Because everyone was obviously thinking that I played against the Hongun, the other Protoss player. He was pretty good back then. He did very well in the first and the second GSL, and people were obviously thinking that he would crush me. And like I said, I really wanted to be on the finals. So I really worked really, really, really hard for the quarterfinal. And I only cheesed him once. Yeah, it's a best of 7. Come on. You can cheese your opponent like once. Come on, it's okay to do that, right? But I was still criticized for cheesing him. What the fuck? Like seriously. People were they were just fucking mad at me. They just fucking hated me.
And, you're getting all this negative feedback because you cheesed once. Is that like influencing the way you played after that?
No, no. Like after like the quarterfinal, I didn't give a shit about fans at all. Like, you can say whatever you want. I don't care. I didn't care about them anymore.
Yeah, because at this point you're already getting to the finals, and
Yeah.
you're actually, from what you experienced in season 2, watching Marine King, you're there now.
Mm-hmm.
How does that feel?
Well, like, man, when I made it to the finals, like, uh, all other teammates in our team, they didn't help me at all, you know? Like, if you're preparing for the finals, you probably only want to practice with people you can trust because you don't want your strategy to be leaked out. So I didn't play any ladder games. The head coach wanted me to only practice with Protoss players in our team. But these guys didn't want it to help me. They didn't want me to win the finals. You know what I mean? Because they were jealous. I think the jealousy was the main reason.
Did you ask for help?
Yeah, I did.
And what would they say?
Oh, they weren't. They went out to play fucking pool game, and they were most of the time they were not even in the team house. I only had like a week to prepare for the finals, and I knew I actually came to the finals unprepared. Not unprepared, but I wasn't fully prepared for the finals. No.
I was truly shocked to hear about Rain's team, TSL, not offering a fellow teammate help. I myself could not help but feel angry and upset for Rain during that interview because, as I mentioned, here you have this kid who has dreamed his whole entire life of becoming a pro gamer for so long, and now that they're getting close to the finish line, his so-called teammates of TSL refuse to help him or take practices seriously to prepare and face off against one of the greatest Protoss players in the world during the time, oGsMC, who's really fierce for his mechanics and renowned for his blink stalker play. I asked Rain if there's anything in particular that he did that could have caused his teammates their refusal to help, and the only thing that he could think of was just how he got to the finals. And he mentioned previously that it could have possibly been jealousy. We'll never really know because Rain never really pressed the issue. He was afraid. He was too young. He was able to feel that his team was acting very weird towards him. During this time, though, Rain wasn't able to sleep because of the anxiety and nerves due to the approaching finals. Having a little practice and doing the best he could do to prepare, Rain would go to the final in a huge stadium, or what looks like an airport hangar, in front of hundreds of people. During the ceremonies, they introduced both Rain and MC to the stage, and they asked them the usual, "How are you feeling?" and "What are you hopeful for today's final?" type of questions. To further add a bit more pressure to it all, the players' moms were interviewed about how they felt on seeing their child up on the stage. Here's a clip from that day. Sorry about the audio, it's an old clip, but here's Rain's mom up first.
I was against him when he first said he was going to become a pro gamer.
있었는데 프로 입단하고 한 3개월 만에 결승까지 올라오게 되니까 너무 기쁘고 또 제 결정이 잘 된 일이라는 걸 알게 돼서 너무 기뻤습니다.
He made it to final.
어렸을 때는 굉장히 밝고 애교도 많고 해서 가족들 사랑을 많이 받았거든요.
When he was a little baby, he was very charming and lovely,
거는
and he loved his family very much.
굉장히 실력 있는 선수라고 들었습니다. 그리고 계속 테란에 강하다고 얘기 들었는데
oGsMC is a very strong player,
서로 좋은 모습
especially
보여줬으면
against Terran.
좋겠습니다. 여기까지 오는 데 있어서 뭐 결코 쉬운 길은 아니었는데 원하는 목표에 가깝게 다가가게 돼서 너무 기쁘고요. 이왕 여기까지 올라왔으니까
I'm really glad that he made it to final.
결승에서 우승까지 했으면 좋겠습니다.
And I hope
소영이 화이팅.
I hope my son wins.
With the stage set and the trophy steps away from Rain, each player heads to the respective booth. GomTV also added this effect to each booth where, if you were to win a game, the booth itself, along with the player inside, moves towards the stage where the trophy awaits. Here are some clips from the finals.
Zealot doing a good amount of damage and just targeting away those siege tanks with the Immortal. Does not care about the Marines. GG. MC hammering Rain.
Hammer time. MC.
Through here on his way to 2-0.
MC counters Rain. Looks like he brought an umbrella.
He certainly did, Tasteless.
Not even going to go for the gold. Actually going to go for the heart of the opponent's base.
GG. That is 2-0. oGsMC. He is a happy camper.
That was a close game.
Taking out that Colossus, and that is going to be it for MC. I think it is definitely a possibility we're going to see a GG.
There it is, GG.
Before I can even say it, he does in fact GG. MC is out of there. And finally, Rain has caught his stride. He's being a sneaky snake right now. Being a trick-or-treater. Not a treat, but this time a trick for MC. And he realizes that, in fact, that was a poison apple given to him by the house.
There were razor blades in that apple.
Very fast game there, Casey.
Pretty quick. oGsMC is good.
Yeah, man. 3-1.
Nice strategy. I was wondering when we were going to start seeing gateways in the main.
Yeah.
Rain has got to be frustrated with that. Oh, my God. You could see the frustration in his face.
Like, oh, Artosis said that was a map I really needed to win. Oh, I'm in so much trouble. That's true, Rain.
Mining. 2 probes mining.
MC running away with his last probe. He's going to lose all other probes, Tasteless.
And there it is.
GG. And MC.
We have our champion.
He is the champion there. Wow.
Whoa, that was intense. Talk about an epic endgame. Had he not hidden that probe, it would have been...
It could have been a draw.
It could have been a draw. Terran could have lifted it. I don't know if there are regions where the Stalkers could not actually reach the command center.
Yeah, there's a possibility there's not.
When I watched the final,
Yeah.
like, it felt like there's something wrong. Like, why doesn't this guy understand what's going on? Like, you know, it wasn't like, it didn't feel like, you know, oh, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. I was just like, wait, there's something off here. Like, did he get help or did he not get help? It seems like somebody's trying to figure it out as they're playing their opponent, you know?
Yeah, I was just... Yeah, exactly.
I mean, were you figuring it out, like, while you're playing MC?
I didn't know what I was doing. And I didn't sleep, like, I couldn't sleep at all before the final. Like, I think I stayed up for, like, 40 hours straight. And like I was half asleep when I was playing. It was so hard to sleep, you know, all the nervousness and anxieties and stuff. Wow.
You're playing this match and you were learning as you go essentially, right? In a final.
Yeah. Like for instance, like on the second match, I started to make like sis tanks. That's something that I've never done before. Like I didn't know why I did that. Like like I was just not prepared for that for the finals. I was doing like random things I wouldn't normally do because I didn't know what I was doing, I guess, because I was not prepared for that.
And I mean, before the final, how are you feeling about your team at this point?
Well, I wanted to those fuckers, man. That's why that's the main reason why I decided to leave the team. These guys were very supportive until the semifinals. Like they were actually like helping me winning that quarterfinal, but when I got into the final, I don't know why they just didn't want it to help me out. And I wanted to play with like some other players in other team, but my head coach didn't let me do it. Like he didn't even let me play on play leather games.
Wow. So it was getting to the point where like you wanted help from other teams and you wanted help from people on the ladder, but they didn't let you?
No, my head coach didn't let me do that.
Oh.
Yeah. Because he was thinking that like my strategy can be leaked out or
Yeah. Well, was he trying? Yeah, he was trying to protect you.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah.
Okay.
He
I
was.
thought he was like preventing you from like trying to work with other people to get help. I mean, did you express this to your coach? Like, what was happening?
Man, I think I was too weak back then. Like I didn't say anything about it. No. I was too young. I was too soft.
Yeah, because you don't want to feel like you're telling on other people at that
Yeah.
age, you know?
And like even like when they were like actually like playing games with me, I could feel that like how can I say? They're not like trying to help me out. They're just playing. They don't really care about like practicing. They just play with me because they had to. So those practice were not helpful at all.
And like outside of the TSL house, did you talk to anybody about it?
No, I didn't.
So you're really by yourself.
Yeah.
Oh man, if I wish I could give you a hug because, dude, I don't. I'm so angry, not at you, but at your team for not supporting you in getting to this final and achieving your dream. Like I feel like you were cheated. I feel that you were robbed almost.
Yeah.
Like. Fuck, man. Sorry. I'm picturing this kid trying to reach out to other players for help, and they're not taking the practice serious, and they're off doing their own thing. And then I got a final like within a week, and it's against MC, one of the best Protosses at that time. I feel like I'm seeing somebody like drown, and they're trying to basically achieve their dream from when they were a kid. And here's a team that's supposedly supposed to help you, but they don't.
Exactly.
And just imagine all that. No one is taking your practice session seriously to help you go up against one of the best Protosses in the world, and you're so close to your dream of winning a major tournament. It's just gut-wrenching when I think about that, and I can't help but feel upset for Rain. And I don't blame him for feeling angry towards his team. Hell, I would be the same way too if I went 1-4 against MC. With Rain mentally drained from the entire drama that unfolded and losing the GSL finals, Rain takes initiative to create the next phase in his life, going teamless. Surprisingly, he does very well with the following GSL Code S and makes it all the way to the quarterfinals, but things don't go as expected.
After I left TSL, like GomTV was being a dick to me, like about the schedules and all this stuff. So I was so pissed, and I just called them back, like, no, I'm out. I don't care.
Like, what do you mean they're being a dick towards you? Like, how did you know they weren't being very fair to you, or like, what were they doing?
Like, they would never tell me anything about the schedule. I was like I was in a train and they called me and like, hey, you know what? You gotta like show up to the uh what is it? It's called 조지명식. It's like you like in round 32, like you can choose your opponent, and it is broadcasted. And they never told me about the schedule for that. And they just suddenly call me and like, hey, you should show up in next like few hours. I was like, fuck no, like you never told me about it. And I called him back and I told him I'm dropping out of the tournament. Like I don't care, do what you want.
I mean, I guess who's supposed to tell you when these matches take place?
Usually the head coaches were informed with all the information and they tell their players. But since I didn't have any team or head coach at the time, I think the GOM TV was supposed to give me those information like directly because there was no one else to tell me that stuff, right? But they didn't, and they were like, they asked me to show up in the last minute, which I can because I was going somewhere else. They've been doing that stuff over and over, and they asked me to show up to the broadcast like 2 hours before. I was like, you know, well, it was a bad decision. In retrospect, I was like little mad. I was being emotional. So I just called him back like, no, I'm out. And I was penalized for, I think, 2 seasons, which I didn't care because I wasn't gonna participate in GSL at all. So it didn't matter. But yeah, I got penalized apparently for 2 seasons. Yeah.
And by being penalized, what that meant was Rain could no longer participate in the following 2 seasons of GSL. Eventually, good things start to happen for Rain, because 10 days after leaving TSL, he gets recruited by Fnatic. After joining, he would have his sights set elsewhere now, a tournament circuit that we all knew and loved, Major League Gaming, or MLG for short. Yeah, what was it about MLG that appealed to you? Like, what was it about MLG as opposed to the GSL that was just like so?
The fans, the Korean fans tend to be very passive. Korean fans are very passive. But when I was playing in MLG, like people would come up to me and ask me for autographs and ask me to take pictures with them, which makes me feel better, right? So, and I did like really well in my first MLG. I actually went 5-0 on the pool play, and I made it to the winners quarterfinal. I had a really good match with Slayer's Boxer. I think that was a very important turning point in my career because after that MLG, people started to give credit for my skills. Like before that, people were thinking like I was just lucky to be on the final, like all the winnings I had was just based on luck. But I proved that I do possess some skills, like through that MLG.
Yeah. And like, what do you make of that? Like, think about it. Like, so many years ago, you turn on the TV and you see Boxer, and that's when you decide, I want to be a pro gamer.
Yeah.
Many years later, MLG Anaheim, you play against him.
Wow. Yeah, man. Definitely hard to explain. Before the matchup with Boxer, he actually invited me to join a party, like a small party. And I was just, it's very hard to explain. Like I was a huge fan of him, and now I'm competing against him. Like he's inviting me to like this private party, and yeah, it was awesome.
What do you guys talk about at that private party?
Oh, well, I don't really remember.
It was a crazy party. It was a crazy party. So the thought of you having to play against him at MLG Anaheim, how are you feeling? Like having to play against your hero, essentially.
Oh man, I was just extremely nervous, but at the same time, I was very confident that I could beat him, because I beat MMA. MMA was the one of the best Terran players at then, and I actually beat him in the group play. So I was very confident with my skills, and I thought I could like easily, not easily, but I thought I could beat him. I won the first game, the 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 longest TVT at the time. I beat him in the first game, and I think I got like too excited, or I was like too nervous about going into the finals. Maybe made like mistakes on the second game, third game. I eventually lost, but still was a good experience. And yeah, I think the fact that I was playing against Boxer, I think it made me feel more nervous.
After losing to Boxer, how did that feel though? Like
Oh, it was okay. Yeah.
Or was it different compared to any other previous losses?
Yeah, it was because people were like very satisfied with the with the whole series, especially the first game, and like I was swarmed by the fans, right? And they were like, I had to do like gave them autograph for like 2 hours. There were so many people would just come to me and ask me for like pictures, and I lost that match, but I think I was more happy. You know what I mean, right? Like I lost, but I earned the love from fans, so I was happy about it.
That's awesome, man. No, it's like I'm proud of you for finally like, you know, after going through like all this stuff, like having dropped out of high school and pursuing pro gaming and like, feeling like you failed after a year from that first FOU experience and then your GED and so forth, like all that hard work finally accumulated up to this moment, to the person that you saw on TV so many years ago as a kid. And for me, that would be a confirmation of saying like, I'm a pro gamer. Like you don't need that courage certificate that you needed so many years ago. And, because you're playing against one of the best in history, in StarCraft history.
Right.
Congrats, man. I'd give you a big hug right now, too. Seriously, just imagine seeing your childhood hero from when you were a kid on a TV screen, and then years later having to compete against him at one of the biggest tournaments at the time. That's like seeing LeBron James on TV and then becoming an NBA player and having to square off with him in the finals. A real stunning achievement and a major accomplishment for anyone. But Rain's focus would soon begin to change, and you would be able to see that in his stats. He would start to place even lower in tournaments. 7th in GSL 2021 Season 1, 8th in NASL Season 3, and 16th in DreamHack Bucharest. Here's Rain.
Yeah, I could feel that my performance was getting worse and worse, and obviously I didn't have the same passion for the game. Because if you like play a game as your job for certain amount of time, it's not as fun as before, because it's your job, and at the same time, I was thinking that I should go back to studying before it's too late. I should go to like college at some point in my life. That's what I was thinking. Like as a Korean, like you have to go to college. That's what like most Korean people think. Like, so I was kind of thinking that about that too, and Actually, when I was preparing for MLG Anaheim, I was actually staying with my manager at the time, and he was attending Cornell University. He lived on campus, and I was staying with him. So, I get to meet other students, like other Korean students, and I think I was thinking like in one day I can maybe pursue education in the United States. So that's probably part of the reasons why I decided to retire and pursue degree in the US.
So it was because like you're walking through like Cornell and you're just like, I should get back to this.
Yeah, like I said, I had a lot of chances to interact with like other Korean students there. And obviously Cornell is a good school, and those guys look so smart, and like the lifestyle they had, like looked pretty cool actually. I would put it this way. It just looked cool to me.
Better than the pro gaming life?
Well, it depends, but well, it depends how good you are as a pro gamer, but yeah.
And not only was it the quick college experience life that helped his decision to go back to college, but his team manager from Fnatic at the time was a big help and encouraged him to do it as well. With Rain finalizing his decision, he would have to fly back to South Korea, where he would spend 2 years studying not only for his GED, but the basic English test in order to start applying for schools in the US. And of course, school in the United States doesn't come free. So who helped Rain with that? How do you start, do you get a regular job to help you get through school? Like, who helped you with that?
Well, I actually save up quite a decent amount of money from gaming. I think I save up to it's not a lot of money, but I think I save 35 grand. So I paid for my tuition for first 2 years, and my dad paid for the remaining 2 years.
Why did you decide to study in the US rather than Korea?
The part of the reason was the experience I had in Cornell was part of the reason, and also I felt like I wasn't ready to take the Korean SAT because you need to dedicate a lot of time for that, and I didn't study for almost 4 years, so I thought it would be very hard for me to get a good score from the test. But whereas community college is it's relatively easy to get in, and also it's much cheaper than 4-year university. Also, I can work on the fundamentals. It's like community college for me is like extended version of high school. So yeah, some people go there to save money. Some people go there because they didn't do well in high school, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not as expensive. Dude, going to a university is crazy expensive. My wife just paid off her student loans last year, man. It's crazy. But yeah, you decide to go to Sacramento. Of all the places, why Sacramento?
Because my dad actually recommended that place. Because I was looking for college in California, because my original goal was to transfer to UC schools like UC Irvine or UC San Diego, UCLA. Just those schools were my original goals. So I had to pick a place in California, and because I originally wanted to major in computer science, but I quickly figured out that I don't have talents for codings and stuff, programming. I didn't. So so I switched it to chemistry. That's why.
Why chemistry?
The first reason was, well, I had to take some chemistry classes. It was a part of the requirement for the computer program I was taking. And I was doing very well in those classes, and I found out that I actually was enjoying those classes more than the computer classes. And I was pretty good at it too. And I was very into Breaking Bad. Have you watched that show?
Yep.
Breaking Bad. I was inspired by that show too.
Rain turning into a little Walter White. So Breaking Bad inspired you to become a chemist as well.
Someone inspired me.
So you were on the verge to, creating this blue stuff and selling it in Sacramento.
And actually, there's like some kind of relationship between chemistry and StarCraft,
How so?
Believe it or not. So, like, let's say in chemistry, like, let's say you want to make some certain molecule. Let's say you're trying to make like methamphetamine, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to like start from the starting material and, like add things up, and you can finally make the targeted molecule. It's like for StarCraft, like in order to make like battle cruiser, you have to have like fusion core and like tech lab and things like that. I felt those things were kind of similar to like the synthesis process of chemistry. Like the build orders and thing, we have in StarCraft. I could relate that to the chemistry. It was more fun.
Wow. Yeah. No, I never saw it. That's such an interesting take. Yeah, because essentially what you're doing is you're kind of laying the foundation out for, for your army composition, and then to get to your target eventually, and that's to win the game eventually. But yeah, it's like, you need all the base materials laid out to achieve your target molecule. That's really cool. Such an interesting dynamic between chemistry and StarCraft. Building up your target molecule, much like building up your target build order. Funny how we can find common ground with StarCraft in just about anything. After completing his first 2 years in community college, Rain would eventually set his sights on a UC, and shortly finds himself getting accepted into a good chemistry program in Illinois. But he had to hurry, because during this time, he only had a bit of runway before his savings was burned. So he took the maximum number of credits per semester. 18 total, which is an insanely amount of school, but he somehow manages to make it through and earn his bachelor's in science in August of 2019. He recounts it being a stressful time, not only because it was a huge workload and a lot of school to manage, but because he still needed to fulfill his mandatory military service. And while he managed to postpone it up until this point, you can only do so for so long before the Korean government gets fed up. You start doing chemistry. So you go from Sacramento, and then from Sacramento you go to...
I transferred to University of Illinois. Like I said earlier, I wanted to go to UC schools, but they would only accept transfer students for full semesters. But I already finished all the required courses. So let's say I finished all the courses. So if I wanted to transfer in fall, I had to like waste another semester like for nothing, because let's say I finished everything in December, so I was ready to transfer in spring semester, but they wouldn't take transfer students in spring, so I had to look up for the schools that would accept students in the spring semester. And
that was
University
of Illinois was that one school that was available for
was
you.
one of them. Yeah. So I just applied and got accepted. So okay, it's okay school. I think it's a pretty decent school. So,
And how long were you there for?
Little less than 2 years.
And why is that?
I had to finish up quickly because of uh, firstly the financial issues. Because my dad was paying for my last 2 years tuition, right? And it was a lot actually. 18 grand per semester. So um like even if I take like 12 credits, it's still 18. So I had to take like maximum credits all the time, 18, 18. So I could like reduce the money.
Yeah, the amount of time that you have to stay at
Yeah.
school and
Yeah.
Wow. Was that stressful or were you able to deal with it?
Stressful. I wish I could like, you know, take less classes and, like I can probably get higher GPA, if my schedules were not as tight. Taking too many classes weren't easy, but it was still okay.
So you're there for 2 years, and what happens after?
I went. I had to join the Korea Army.
And where were you when you received the news?
I knew I had to do it at one point, but I was postponing it with my college thing. So I knew as soon as I returned to the Korea that I'll have to get it done. After I graduate, because I didn't complete my military obligation, the Korean government wouldn't issue a new passport for me. So even if I wanted to stay in US, I'll probably have to leave because if my passports get expired, I become like no one.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Man. And that's true. You really become no one because you're basically in a
I
foreign...
don't have ID.
Yeah, you're in a foreign land. You don't have an ID. Oh, man. So once you graduate with your bachelor's in chemistry,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to head back home to Korea to fulfill your military service,
Mm-hmm.
how are you feeling, man?
About the military thing?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I got it done like about a month ago, but I was very stressed about it back then because normally they finish their obligation when they are in early 20s. So um like in Korea, age matters a lot. It's part of the Korean culture. It might be a little hard to understand for people who doesn't like know much about the Korean culture, but like there's the culture that younger people has to like respect the older people, even if they don't know each other personally. Like there's things like that. So when I joined the military, I was already 26. And these other guys who were there was like 6 or 7 years younger than me, right? But they were higher in rank, so like I had to like respect them, like so change it the other way. So it was very hard for me to do that.
Right. Like they should be culturally, they should be respecting you because you're their elder, but because they're at a higher rank in the military,
it's the other way around.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's very tough because of that, and also the fact that I felt like, well, probably every Korean males would feel the same, but I felt like I was wasting my life here because it's not something that I wanted to do it. I was forced to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and like all my other friends were like getting their jobs, and going to grad school and doing all this kind of stuff, but I'm the one who's stuck in the military. So yeah, I was very stressed about it.
And if you recall from part 1 of the series, Rain completes his military service, which he was very happy about and finally free to continue on with his life. But there are others who are even more relieved to have him back and on track with life. So you're finally out, and how was your mom feeling when you got back to Korea with your bachelor's?
Well, she was very obviously proud of me, because like, like most professional, like former pro gamers, they don't usually go back to education. They usually like, they don't go back to school normally, like except for Select or a few other players. They don't do that. But I was only a few people who did that. So I think my mom was like very proud of me because she always wanted me to like, like pursue education at some point in my life, and I did that. So she was very proud of it, and she's still like my both parents are still very proud of my professional career till this day, like if they see like their friends, like my dad would like there's a like website called Naver. It's like Google of like Korea, he would like type my name in there and like show my profile to his friends and things like that.
And this is your mom?
My dad.
Oh, your dad.
And my mom too, yeah. Yeah, there's like my son is on Naver,
Oh, that's awesome. And do you guys ever talk about your I don't know, like do you guys ever talk about your pro gaming career? And
oh yeah, we do sometimes. Yeah.
Like what was the last thing you guys talked about? Like
wasn't about my parents, but I was with my dad and my uncle said like, when I was a kid, I would always bring the keyboard with me all the time, I didn't even remember that. But he said I always carried a keyboard and a mouse with me all the time. Like that's what he said. And my mom sometimes talk about the finals. Yeah.
I mean, like, what did she say about the finals? Like, what did she tell you?
Like she said, she doesn't like MC because MC was kind of trash talking.
Oh yeah, he
time.
Was, yeah.
She's like, she doesn't like him. She's like, this guy's thick, I don't like this guy. Because she was trash talking,
Yeah, but what was she saying about you though?
She said like she was very worried when I first told her that I want to quit school. But the reason why she decided to let me do that was because she thought if she doesn't let me do that, and if I don't like do well in college and things, she was worried that I would blame her for not letting me pursue my dreams. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like that's why she decided to take that risk. Yeah.
And how does she feel about that, looking back on everything?
Yeah, I mean, she's very obviously very proud of me because I think I did have pretty successful career as a StarCraft player, and I finished my education and I have the real world job now. So yeah, everything worked out pretty well. I think I was very lucky to have all this kind of experiences. Luck is a huge factor in life, right? So like all the thing that happened to me, I was very fortunate to have all those experiences, and everything played out so well. So I'm just very thankful.
This interview was done 3 years ago. Rain has accomplished so much in life now that he resides in Canada somewhere, happily married, happy with his life, and happy where he's at now. Thank you so much, Rain, for doing this interview, and thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to speak with me. Editing, music, and production was done by your host, Christopher Lopez. Outro music by the talented Televangel. Head on over to their Bandcamp or YouTube. You can also find Televangel on Spotify. More details about Televangel in the podcast show notes. Until next time, friends, thank you very much.